Have you ever held a coin in your hand that carries not just silver and copper, but a piece of American legacy, a symbol of power, politics, and history? The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is more than just 50 cents. It is a story of a nation's pride, a reflection of change in American coinage, and a monument to a fallen president. Today, we dive deep into the untold secrets of the 1973 half-dollar coin, a coin that never reached the pockets of many Americans and yet continues to fascinate collectors around the world. From the rise of John F. Kennedy to the fall of silver in circulation, this coin connects generations of minting technology, artistry, and national sentiment. If you think all coins are created equal, get ready, because by the end of this story you will look at every half-dollar differently forever. The year was 1973 and the United States was going through significant changes. The Vietnam War was drawing toward its end. Watergate was shaking the trust of the American people, and inflation was creeping into everyday life. In the midst of this shifting national atmosphere, the United States Mint continued to produce one of its most iconic coins, the Kennedy half-dollar. The coin itself was introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John Fitzgerald Kennedy following his tragic assassination in 1963. The American public demanded a coin that would honor him, and in an unprecedented move, the Mint replaced the Franklin half-dollar design with Kennedy's portrait in just a few short months. By 1973, the Kennedy half-dollar had already gone through multiple changes in composition and circulation behavior. The early years from 1964 to 1970 saw silver being phased out due to rising metal costs. The 1964 version contained 90% silver, but from 1965 to 1970, the Mint shifted to a composition of 40% silver clad. The Coinage Act of 1970 marked the final year for silver halves, and beginning in 1971, the Kennedy half-dollar was minted in copper, nickel-clad composition similar to the quarter and the dime. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar was struck in both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and proof versions were produced at San Francisco. However, unlike previous years, the 1973 half-dollar was not released into general circulation. The majority of these coins were made for collector sets such as mint sets and proof sets. The Mint had noticed that half-dollars were not being used by the public in daily transactions as much as smaller coins like dimes and quarters. As a result, the 1973 half-dollar became a special collector issue which added to its intrigue and rarity in everyday commerce. The obverse of the coin proudly displays the left-facing portrait of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, who had been the chief engraver of the United States Mint. His design captured Kennedy's youthful strength, determination, and calm dignity. The reverse side, designed by Frank Gasparo, featured the presidential seal with an eagle holding an olive branch, and arrows symbolizing peace and strength surrounded by 50 stars representing the states. The detailed artistry of both sides reflects the pride of American minting during this era. Collectors and numismatists regard the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar as a transitional coin not because of its metal composition, but because of its role in American coin usage. The early 70s saw a decline in half-dollar circulation, partly due to inflation, and partly due to public reluctance to use them as they were larger, heavier, and often associated with collectors rather than cash registers. Banks began to order fewer half-dollars, and by 1973 the Mint was producing them largely for official sets rather than everyday exchange. Mint marks play an important role in identifying where each coin was produced. The 1973 half-dollar with no mint mark came from the Philadelphia Mint. The 1973 D was struck in Denver, and the 1973 S proof coin came from San Francisco. The proof coins were highly polished with mirrored fields and frosted designs, making them particularly appealing to collectors. The proof sets containing the 1973 S half-dollar are now valued by numismatists for their beauty and craftsmanship. The total mintage numbers were approximately 64 million from Denver, over 80 million from Philadelphia, and around 2.7 million proof coins from San Francisco. While these numbers sound large, most of these coins were stored in sets rather than circulated, which is why finding a 1973 half-dollar in pocket change is rare. When collectors do find them, they often appear in nearly uncirculated condition, which adds to their appeal. Over the decades, the 1973 half dollar has gained a unique position in the history of American coinage. It represents the era when the mint began focusing on collectors rather than solely on circulation currency. It also stands as a reminder of how quickly technology and public behavior changed. In the world of money, by the 1970s, vending machines, cash registers, and public habits favored smaller coins and bills. The half dollar became more of a novelty than a necessity. However, within the collecting community, the 1973 half dollar holds both nostalgic and artistic value. It carries the continued legacy of John F. Kennedy, a figure who remains one of the most admired presidents in American history. The Kennedy portrait is considered one of the most beautifully rendered images in modern numismatics, in the 1973 edition maintains the purity of that original design before later modifications to the mint's process slightly altered the portrait's details. Today, grading services such as PCGS and NGC often receive 1973 half dollars. In mint state condition, coins graded MS65 and above can command premium prices, especially for proof versions or coins with exceptional luster and strike quality. The coin's metallic composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core gives it durability and a distinct bright silvery appearance that has held up remarkably well over the years. If you look closely at a 1973 Kennedy half dollar under magnification, you can see the intricate detailing on Kennedy's hair and the fine texture in the eagle's feathers on the reverse. The craftsmanship and precision were exceptional for the time, considering the limitations of 1970s minting machinery. Each proof coin was hand-polished and struck multiple times with carefully prepared dies to create that mirror, like brilliance collectors love today. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, the Kennedy half dollar remained in limited production largely for collectors. The legacy of the 1973 version continued to grow because it represented that early turning point when these coins stopped being common change and became true collectibles. For those who started coin collecting during this period, the 1973 edition often marks one of their first introductions to the hobby in recent years. Interest in half dollars has surged again, particularly among younger collectors who are rediscovering the historical and aesthetic significance of mid-20th century coins. The 1973 half dollar often becomes a centerpiece for collections that focus on the post-silver era of U.S. coinage. It tells a powerful story of how America's economy, politics, and cultural memory merged into a single piece of metal. From a historical perspective, the Kennedy half dollar remains a tribute, not just to a man, but to an ideal. The coin stands for leadership, vision, and hope. The 1973 edition encapsulates that spirit at a time when the nation itself was searching for renewal amid political and economic challenges. Its endurance in the world of numismatics shows that symbols matter and that even 50 cents can carry a nation's pride. All right, imagine the camera slowly zooms in on a shiny silver coin resting under a warm golden light. The words half dollar 1995 glowing as if guarding a mystery forgotten by time. Then your voice begins, smooth, powerful, and magnetic. Have you ever wondered what stories lie within a simple coin? What if I told you that the 1995 half dollar isn't just a piece of metal? It's a gateway into American history, a silent witness of a nation's pride and progress, a coin that represents change, artistry, politics, and value, all melted into one small circle of silver beauty. Welcome to the untold story of the 1995 half dollar, a story that will take you through decades of craftsmanship, secrets of the United States Mint, and the cultural power hidden behind every strike. This isn't just about a coin, it's about America's evolving spirit, about collectors chasing perfection, and about how one coin can reveal the rise of modern numismatics. Now, let's begin this journey from the very beginning. The 1995 half dollar, also known as the Kennedy half dollar, was part of a series that began in 1964, following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. His image replaced Benjamin Franklin's on the coin by the order of the United States Mint and Congress to honor the fallen leader. The 1995 issue was struck more than 30 years after that event, yet it carried the same emotional legacy that had defined the coin since its birth in the early 60s. But by 1995, the half dollar had become more symbolic than practical. It was rarely used in everyday transactions. Many Americans considered it more of a collector's piece than circulating money. And that perception shaped the minting strategy, the United States. Mint produced several versions that year from the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, as well as special proof issues from San Francisco. Each mint mark telling a different story. In Philadelphia, no mint mark appeared on the coin its mintage reached, tens of millions ensuring it was available but not always seen in circulation. The Denver Mint added the small letter D, marking its identity, while the San Francisco Mint created the premium proof coins with their mirror-like finishes and deep cameo. Contrast collectors cherished these proof strikes, often packaged in elegant boxes, representing the finest craftsmanship of the mint. But there was something special about 1995. The coinage of this year stood at the crossroads between tradition and innovation, between the classic engraving of the Kennedy portrait and the modern production technologies that began shaping the mint's operations during the 1990s. The obverse still bore the iconic bust of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy. Robert's a sculptor who immortalized Kennedy's profile with incredible realism, capturing not only his likeness but his dignity and youth. The reverse remained unchanged too, a heraldic eagle by Frank Gasparo, symbolizing the strength and freedom of the United States. The combination of these two designs had already become one of the most recognized and enduring in American coinage history. But what makes the 1995 half-dollar so fascinating isn't only its design, it's the context of its creation. The 1990s marked a time when the American mint system was evolving, adapting to new technologies and preparing for the 21st century. Coin collectors were growing in number, coin shows were booming, and grading companies like PCGs and NGC were setting new standards for coin quality and authenticity. The 1995 Kennedy half-dollar entered this dynamic environment. It became one of the coins that bridged the gap between the casual collector and the professional numismatist, with millions searching for the perfect strike free from scratches with sharp details on Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers, and those proof versions from San Francisco became the pride of countless coin albums glowing like mirrors under light, revealing perfection through every curve of its polished surface. But there's a deeper layer to its story. While the half-dollar was losing its role in daily commerce, it was gaining a cultural one. It symbolized patriotism, memory, and nostalgia. For many Americans who had grown up seeing Kennedy's face not only on their coins, but in their history books and family stories, the 1995 issue carried that emotion into a new generation, serving as both a keepsake and a link to the pastas. The year when on the United States Mint also experimented with different sets and packaging. The 1995 proof set became particularly valuable when paired with silver proof versions. Collectors noticed subtle variations in finish and toning, making each piece slightly unique. Some coins showed light frosted details, others deeper mirrors, and those small variations became points of fascination for coin graders and historians. The economic side of the coin was equally interesting. While its face value remained 50 cents, its collectible value grew over time, driven by its pristine condition, limited proofs, and historical appeal, especially when certified in high grades like Proof 70 or Mint State 67. And above, such coins could fetch prices far beyond their denomination, becoming investment pieces rather than pocket change. To truly appreciate the 1995 half-dollar, one must also see it as a symbol of an era. The mid-1990s were a time of change. The United States was experiencing economic growth. Globalization was rising. Technology was reshaping society, and even coins were beginning to reflect that transition. The Mint introduced better quality control laser technology for die creation and new packaging for collectors. The Kennedy half-dollar, though traditional in design, became a canvas for precision modern minting and enduring national symbolism. It stood as a reminder of American legacy. In a fast-changing world today, when collectors hold a 1995 half-dollar, they are not just holding a coin. They are holding history. They are holding the weight of memory, craftsmanship, and pride. Each coin struck in that year connects back to the ideals of President Kennedy, his dream of progress, his spirit of unity, and the resilience of a nation that honored him through this enduring piece of metal, from the first die struck to the final polish applied in San Francisco. The 1995 half-dollar remains a silent storyteller, whispering tales of art, politics, and passion that continue to echo through time.